Welcome to Life in the Music Business, a masterclass with Professor Pooch and your host, BACEFACE.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to Life in the Music Business with Professor Pooch. Pooch, what's going on?
How you doing?
Everything's
As
good.
we were talking before, it's interesting. You know, we had talked one of the previous episodes about doing cover songs, but if you do them, try to make them your own sound, especially if you want to be doing originals
Yeah.
during your career.
hmm
And it's interesting. Usually, when people do covers, they're not as good as the original. But I had heard a cover that I was really surprised at. There was like a folk rocky song back in the 60s.
The Sound of Silence.
Sounds of Silence, right. And the funny part is, I just heard a version of it done heavy metal. And man, it was great.
Yeah.
It was by Disturbed. Check out the Disturbed version of Sounds of Silence. They made it their own, and they were afraid they were going to lose fans or something like that. But the way they did it, it's just so hypnotizing. And you watch the one with the video, or I saw a live version of it and stuff like that. But the trick is, yes, do other people's songs, but make them your own. And it's just odd that I like this version better. Well, I'm a hard rocker, so I guess that means something right there. But I've seen some cover versions that are pretty darn good.
Yeah. I know some of my favorite songs growing up were covers of other songs, but the way that they were, what I mean, you listen to the original and the version I grew up listening to, and you're like, whoa, like I need to go to the other person's version because they just completely owned it.
Well, I mean, it's funny, but a lot of times you think something's an original and it isn't. What was it? Pearl Jam. And they did a version of an old Rocky from the 50 sad song, and they did it and it worked. You just never know. Sometimes the only thing is that you don't get as much money if you're looking at it from a financial point of view. And I'm not going to get into the whole thing of it now because it's a whole conversation on the controlled composition clause in a record company contract, and we're not going to go into that right now. But excuse me, but sometimes to start out, to make money. I mean, I know some people that did. There were live band, rock, original band under one name, and a cover band playing the rest of the week under a different name, so they can make enough money to keep the originals going and recording and stuff.
Yeah.
And hey, but
There are some famous bands in history that have done that and just or became famous by playing cover songs back in the 80s, and that sparked their whole career.
yeah, just a lot of people don't know about it, but it's funny, it's, well, we won't go into the whole thing there because I wanted to bring up another topic, and it's a very interesting topic. And it has to do with, if I have to sum it up in a sentence, it's how TikTok has changed the writing of songs.
Wow, this is gonna be a
And
good one.
uh, let's get a little history because, well, I'll give you the end point and then I'll work up to it. But basically, you notice with TikTok, you have 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds. You don't have much time to get everything across. And we've been talking about how songs now start out with the chorus. Well, what's happening is the total song structure, the way it used to be, at least with the majors and a lot of artists nowadays, has really changed. It's almost like they start with the chorus or a hook, more, which would be more instrumental, we'll call it. Chorus, but hook, chorus, hook, hook. I mean, it's a bunch of it's a totally different structure to capture these 15-second periods of time. A great example of how it was used brings up a bunch of things, actually. Billie Eilish, Bad Boy, Bad Guy. And Bad Guy, #1 song of 2020. And if you look at it, there's a chorus, bad guy, da-da-da, enough guy, da-da-da. But what followed after it became the real hook. And what it was an instrumental, da-da, 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 and that's what was hooking people in.
Yeah.
And the interesting part, and especially for somebody like you, especially BACEFACE, is that, I mean, your big thing has been EDM. I mean, that's, what you basically did. I mean, out there live was EDM. And the thing is that EDM as a whole isn't doing quite as well as it did like in 11 and 12 and stuff, but it's used more often in every other song.
Yeah.
Bad Guy, that synthesizer, I mean, it's
That
EDM,
part of the
folks.
song especially, that kinda blew my mind. It was like, "Whoa," like, I had seen Billie Eilish, like, really break the boundaries, but then, like, they did that, and then that became, like, a hit record. It was like, "Whoa," it's incredible that the instrumental section became almost more important than the words. It was just like they had to work to the balance was, like, beautiful.
Well, the key is, and here's another important point to think about, and that is you got to start out immediately, grab them immediately. We always said the top, we had talked about it before, the top songs, 7 seconds, you're in, you're doing it. The song's got to start. Well, you notice a lot of songs have been starting at the choruses. And then it's becoming choruses, and you think that's the verse, and you don't even know what anything is. Bad guy, da, 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 da. And that was catchy. It was a good chorus.
Yeah.
But then they stick in this piece that just takes it another level. Because here's the key to think about. And this, of course, we're hearing stuff from the major labels. Now, if you think about it, folks, I know she didn't care as much. They basically recorded in his bedroom, But what's happening is, if you think about it, on most song services, they don't count it as a play to get paid for unless you hold them there for 30 seconds.
Wow.
So you got to hit and hit and hit, but something else has changed because of that, and the payments and stuff like that. And that is, the songs are shorter. They're down to about 2 minutes. I mean, I'm going to give you a history of it for a while, why it's the times it is, basically. But they're down to like 2 minutes a song because they want you to play it again.
Yep. It's a genius thing actually because, I mean,
It makes sense logically. And my thing has always been, if a song works, it works.
yeah.
And I mean, I was drawn into Bad Guy. I liked the song. I mean, it was very catchy and was, I liked it. I loved that it was, home done. It didn't sound like any other song. But, and Beyonce's done this with the song. And what they do a lot of times in this EDM kind of part is the ad lib or just some other background, or kind of a hooky word or two and stuff like that, things like that. But they make it part of like a second chorus almost, which breaks most of the rules from the past. Let's look at time periods of why songs are the length they are. First of all, let's see, when I was growing up, there was still 45 records. Now, when you have vinyl, And by the way, this fits with the old 78s from my grandparents and stuff. If you have, there's only so much play on a vinyl. Or if you make the grooves closer together, because there was the needle going around on grooves, if you put the grooves closer together, it hurt the quality.
Mm.
So they found out originally, I think it was in the 78s, that it could take 3 minutes and 45 seconds before it started degrading quality. So for, God, 50, 60 years after that, I mean, don't go over 340, et cetera. There were few exceptions, even 6 or 7 minutes, but it was rare. Only in the 60s when the jockeys could play what they want, basically. Now music's all programmed from like 3 or 4 cities, basically. But, so what happened was, wait a minute, here's something else to keep in mind, and this is going to change record company contracts. If anybody's smart enough to look at it, they don't pay you for anything if it's not 2.5 minutes long. I'm sure they're going to have to change that. In other words, if it's not 2.5 minutes long, it's not considered a song that they're going to pay. Oh, it gets crazy. I'm not going to go because it's in all different parts of the contract. The control composition, which has to do with the song being licensed to the record company to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the whole song structure is changing if you want to do it in that manner.
Yeah, I'm not really too mad at it. I've been like all the stuff that's on the radio is actually pretty good. All the EDM stuff that's been coming out is super catchy. Like the one trend I've been seeing is that like they'll take like the one vocal loop and they'll kind of just like use that as the hook and within like some simple production. Like they dress it well, they really do a great job, and that's how all these hits are coming out right now. And thanks to TikTok for really kind of shaking it up a little bit, but you kind of get to the meat and potatoes of the record quick to be able to
Well, that's how it's becoming promotions, and TikTok people are becoming influencers, and I mean, it's really becoming something like, it's funny how a piece of technology could change everything because it got so popular. And by the way, everybody and their mother is starting a version of TikTok. I mean, you have Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, et cetera. They're all trying to do it. Usually the first one's the only one that makes it that does the best on something. It's
I
like a
know.
style. Go
I,
ahead.
I always thought it would be interesting, right? If for advertising standpoint, if like I know that there's such thing as jingles when it comes to the companies and stuff, but no company really has like a theme song, and I feel like they don't really. That would be like an interesting marketing tactic for different brands to like have pay somebody to write a song for them, and that be featured on the ad on TikTok or whatever the case may be.
Why not? Which brings up, one of Professor Pooch's top 10 laws, which is very important. Uh, You have to be just as creative on the business end as you are on the artistic end. Now, look, folks, a lot of things we're coming up with. I mean, yeah, these are the majors doing it this way. There's a lot of stuff that way. It depends on what kind of success you want to have. You could have the super duper, really go for that, and that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. It's up to you. I never tell people how to be. I give them options. Or you can have your niche audience, which is 20,000 or so fans, do it independent and make quite a nice living out of it. There have to be real fans. Now, I don't mean likes or follows and all that kinds of stuff. There's a difference. We have to do a show sometime on that. The difference between real followers, real listeners, and likes and follows. Uh, but that's for another day. But so you really like it. To me, I'm into anything. And something else that I just hit me, that's probably why it's working. And you and I talked about it a couple times on this show too, is during the pandemic, people went up
Yeah.
to be uplifted. It's like when the Vietnam War was over in the 60s, 70s, and people just needed a break, and disco was dance music, yeah. And here we go again. But you could do anything, but it's got to be catchy.
Yeah, and nowadays everything is basically a hook. So like
Yeah.
your instruments that you're playing, what I mean, the drums could even be hooky. If you can pick it apart and be like, wow, I would listen to that on loop forever, then you know that you're on the right track.
Yeah, but you don't want them. You want to do it just enough to grab them in, but you want them to play the song
Oh,
again.
yeah, yeah.
You know, or buy it. You know, it'd be really nice with all the new avenues
Yeah,
now with even
a lot of
buying stuff.
people have been selling vinyl recently and even CDs I've been seeing coming back because it's just like lossless audio. It's like one of the highest forms of audio that we've really ever had. And it was a crazy transition to go into like the MP3 and wave, but there's just something about the CD that everybody loves and they're willing to buy it if you can provide the product.
Well, that's like Billie Eilish with in the first week, 77,000 vinyl albums sold from that album with Bad Guy on it. And her audience is tweens and teens, which means I guess the parents had a record machine, hopefully. But they put the artwork up on the walls, and that's why I keep telling people, about how vinyl or the DDPs, the digital download package, uh, which is a digital version of it, where you can put all these different things into it that people can print out and put up on the wall, or something like that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of cool stuff even going on. This is completely off topic, but there's a lot of stuff going on cool in the crypto community as well, where they're selling there's this new fad called the NFT, and I'm not going to get into it crazy, but basically it's like basically like if you were playing your video game on your phone and you bought like a costume for your character, that type of stuff. Like they're exclusive pieces of art that people have been making millions of dollars on. Like
Even a Twitter quote. The biggest one was that piece of a whole mess of JPEGs put together, and he made like $67 million.
yeah.
But see, it's you getting the only copy.
Exactly, but then here's the cool part is that you own that, and there's a specific, like, serial number that is attached to that, and you
Yep.
can later on in the future sell it back or whatever, and even when you sell it, the original owner gets a percentage of it, so it's like it's a super kinda it's like it's hard to
That's like a pyramid scheme almost, but no, actually, it's interesting.
well, I mean,
Uh,
and I wouldn't say it's a pyramid scheme. It's like it's so the way that people are using it in the music industry is like if you were to sell a song, right? So you would make an NFT, you would do whatever the process is, and then that song would have like the serial number. So if somebody bought that song from you, then anything that they did with it past that point, you would get percentage royalty on because that's yours. You get what
yeah. Now, question. I mean, is this all through Bitcoin?
Yes, it runs through Bitcoin. It runs mainly through Ethereum right now, but the godfather coin of all of it is Bitcoin, which is
Yeah, it's just Bitcoin. Let's see what happens. I'm really curious, even though we're going to a cashless society.
yeah,
I mean, I actually had to write a check last week for the first time in I don't know how many months.
yeah.
Do I have any checks? I don't.
That's the other day with
It,
the studio, same thing.
oh my
Uh,
God. Yeah. I mean, it looks funny. I still have the same bills in my wallet from a year ago. I haven't spent any cash. It's so strange. But the thing is, the only concern about Bitcoin is that it's had its wild ups and wild downs. And one guy had got into a problem with it. Bill Gates is very anti it for whatever reason. Maybe it's the NFTs. I forget if it's the NFTs or Bitcoin itself. But the weirdest things. Yeah, look at what's happened with the that games shop,
yeah, GameStop.
GameStop, right through the stocks. But it was against Wall Street, so some people got a kick out of it. One young kid made a ton of money.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, but tying it all back together, the reason I brought it up is because that for your fan to feel like they can own something that's exclusive to them, they'll pay large amounts of money for it. So you don't even necessarily need to have 20,000 fans. You could have 100 fans, but if they're giving you $10,000 for an exclusive song that you custom made them, or a song that you never released that you're probably never going to release that that person can own, I mean, it's changing the careers of people overnight.
Oh, all kinds of things. I mean, it's basically, I was always saying with nowadays 2020s music, anything goes. Well, anything goes, almost anything anymore, with the Bitcoin and, blockchains, all kinds of things. And but it's going back also to what we were saying about be just as creative on the business end as you are on the artistic end. And that is find ways to come out with things that somebody else didn't think of. You be the next NFT. Come up with something different that works the same way and gets you where you want to go. Because not only will you make money out of it that way, I mean, you have to put some effort into it, but you not only make money, you'll get promoted in the news saying, wow, this one group did this. You see it all the time. I mean, I get Billboard and all this stuff, and people want to know, well, why do you even care about Billboard? You're indie. I said, but first of all, Billboard realizes too that it's not just major labels anymore. What do you think when you and I had discussed with Sony, getting AWAL and
They actually,
DistroKid with
side note, they actually just bought. They paid ATV. They paid them off, gave them the rest of the money that they owed them,
yep.
Jackson Estate, and now they are Sony Music Pub.
Yep, 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 yep. I mean, it's just trying to keep up with what's going on. But at least life is still continuing through the pandemic
Oh,
with everything
continuing.
here.
Yeah, it's moving. It's moving. I've been seeing a lot of brand new artists coming out, which is exciting, and a lot of new music from all angles, and I love that.
Well, one thing I want to bring back up is where we started with this is on uh, that EDM, with the dance piece or whatever that hook is that grabbed you. How long have I been saying to everybody? Every musician should have a hook in a song. It doesn't even have to sound like the song. I mean, I've written like bass lines and things like that they make sense by themselves and they work with the song, but they don't sound at all like the song. But, it's a great thing to get into is just doing the best pieces. I mean, why not? Just come up with these short pieces that just blow people away
Yeah, and
and put it in the key of the song, make sure it fits. I mean, you got to work in the same ballpark, but
yeah.
let it loose.
It's all, yeah, you can choose a bunch of different layers and stuff to make the song come out, and as opposed to just doing what everybody else is doing, plugging in their guitar into their computer and recording it clean. I mean, there's so many different things and like pedals and things that you can buy online from the 60s or 70s that are vintage that only that pedal has that sound, and you could get it for 50, $60. You plug that in, and there you go. You have your own sound, but you can be innovative. You just kind of have to take what is given to us that everybody else has access to and make it your own.
Yeah, and yeah, it's like we had talked to this segment on the six inner sentences. Well, your imagination, but imagination is like any of the inner senses. You got to exercise them. So if you're not sure what you want to do, like and you want to do this great piece, just let yourself loose and let it run for a while. Just set a recorder going on in the background or something and just play around with all kinds of stuff until you find something that really just blows you away.
And that, I mean, the TikTok stuff kind of changed the game, with the whole music, like how they're bringing it back to what Pooch had originally brought up. I mean, even the songwriting style, like everything is more simplified, and it's uh it's just quick and to the point. They're almost like jingles, you know. They're not really like they're like it's like the modern era for music, and I
Well,
find,
you could still do the old type songs. I mean, it's up to you what you want to do. It's just worth stating what's you're hearing and why you're hearing it.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of things we'll be hearing now too, especially are older songs being redone in the EDM realm for the TikTok and that type of stuff. I've heard so many classics like Let Me Love You by Mario from the the early 2000s redone in an EDM song that's up tempo because that's just what's in right now. So,
And we talked about it. If you have a good song, just rearrange it for the times. It doesn't matter how old it is, even. You can say, gee, that's what I did in 2000, or that's what I remember in 2000, but how do I hear it now? And that's using your imagination too. It's like in my book, uh, one of the books that I wrote on the music business, about using learn to play your instrument of what you hear on a recording or something, just to learn to play. But then listen to the song again and then think of how you would play it, or harmonize to it and things like that. Do different kinds of things with it. I used to do that, have fun with that with voices. Hearing the way something was sung. Even that's how I learned harmony, was the way songs were sung. I never sang along when I listened to the radio. I don't know why I did this, maybe because I was in an orchestra at the time or something, I don't remember. But if I would hear a certain melody of a song, a voice melody, I would put my own harmonies to it. And I wouldn't just do the thirds, da da, and just keep going up. I would be in and out and all around having fun with it. And what that could become nowadays is an instrument, like an EDM kind of sound. That's like a pop synthesizer that Phineas used on that bad guy. And it was out of nowhere, but it took it to another level, and it kept the person listening for more than 30 seconds.
too, that's another key thing that I feel like is important to this segment as well is that like we've mentioned it before, like it's easy to make something that's complex and crazy, but it's hard to make something simple. So don't
Exactly.
overthink it.
Simple's hard. Simple is much harder. It's funny. But I just flashed back at all those years of telling people who said, Pooch, wait till you hear the ending. It makes it's even wilder sounding now, because my thing was, well, wait a minute. If there was no beginning that it grabbed the record company person or whatever, if you didn't hit him in 15 seconds, he had his hand, well, there used to be buttons because it was, you know, and fast forward, next song, and you'd see the guy there with his finger like that. Next song, you have to have a great beginning, middle, and end. Well, nowadays you have to. It's the whole thing. You got to keep. But it fits even if you think about it, putting that piece in, for example, after the hook and stuff. I mean, it just everybody is ADD.
Yeah.
Takes them in another trip.
Yeah, and
And the point is, if it works, it works.
believe it or not, it even resembles some of the foreign music, like world music in the
Yes.
country. Yeah.
Which brings up a very good point about what we were talking about, song structure. Part of the things that have changed is because it's not United States anymore. You got to think world. And there's these artists become very big in Africa and Israel, yeah, and India and stuff like that with their own things. Remember, everybody goes by, God, I was having this conversation today with some people who've been around for a while. We all were raised listening to certain kinds of music. So if you're in India or whatever, you're hearing certain kinds of whatever kind of music. Israel, you're hearing something else. Wherever you are, you're hearing all different kinds of music, which is blending into everything. I mean, I was heavily influenced by European sound, and my songs have a lot of European kind of sound to them. Even my techno kind of stuff that I did, it was at East, it was more than a couple chords, and things like that. But you're right. If you think about it from that direction, just the influence of people from around the world. I mean, the different cultures is what it is.
Yeah.
The cultures are coming out. I played you some pieces where they came out of, you know, you hear a rocker doing it and it sounds like it's from the Middle East. And I mean, because they liked something there, something hit them.
Yeah.
And who cares? If it's great, it's great.
Yeah.
I just read in a book for a friend of mine who did his biography and autobiography about the different songs. It's just, there's only two kinds of music, great and not so great. And when I saw it in book form, somebody else say it, I thought, oh, good, I'm not the only one. Because people say, what kind of music, Pooch? What should I do? Man, just do what you feel. And, Pooch, what kind of music do you like? I like a great song. It could be in any style. I mean, here I am, I like Clapton's heavy Layla and then his acoustic version, Layla. I like that too. A great song's a great song.
The great songs that's literally what it's about. That's what the whole industry
Yeah,
is off of.
if you don't have songs, and they, what's so sad is that the songwriters are like an afterthought, and they don't want to give songwriters what they're due. At the same point, if there were no songs, there'd be no music, unless everybody's just jamming all the time, just playing anything. But you get your improvisations from what you've heard and learned, through the years.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've hit this from every angle. And yeah, I keep track of us folks. We're up. There's at least 42 episodes up. I think this might be 43, I believe. And because we just figured, oh, well, let's record this and just put it right up. And that's what's happening, folks. So yeah, please stay tuned to us, and you got to listen to them all. Forget the titles. We're going to take the titles off the damn songs because people are getting misled because we talk about things from angles that you wouldn't picture when we talk about a publisher. About publishing, we might be talking about contracts. We might be talking about what they're looking for creatively. We might talk about business moves. We might talk about the producer working with the publisher or the artist or the whomever. I mean, think of it, it's all together. To get a real understanding of the music industry, you gotta listen to them all, and it'll give you a great picture of the industry the way it really is, not the way they tell you it is.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too. We only have so much space when it comes to writing the titles for these episodes, so we have to fit everything that we say in 45 minutes to an hour
You're right.
down into 100 characters, and it's not easy to do. But like
We're
Pooch,
all over the place, and
yeah,
we cover it for everybody. And even if we're talking about publishing, I don't care if you're a record company, you have to pay the publisher. Yeah, everybody, every role intertwines in some way, and we're going to be starting fairly soon this live thing, and we're going to be intertwining everything. And we're going to be doing this show live, folks. It's going to be Life in the Music Business live. And one show a week will be live, and probably we'll discuss, and we'll see what happens.
Yep.
The second show will be more of a deep dive into some of the topics we hit during the show because we're going to have audience participation, etc.
thanks everybody for tuning in. We are Life in the Music Business, and we will see you guys soon.
Yeah. Tune in for the next episode, folks. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Tune in for the next episode.